Any other questions? Yes?
So do people think that he was the one that planned it?
Yeah.
Or was it Khamenei?
Well, right now, Khamenei originally came out and said very quickly that this was a divine blessing, that this election is hereby certified. But today he came out and said that he was going to have the Guardian Council examine Mousavi's claims. So that's, I was listening to NPR this morning at the BBC, and they said that could mean that he wasn't behind it. He was happy with the result. He wanted Ahmadinejad to win. But that said, it's not a disaster for him if Mousavi wins. After all, he had dealt with 16 years of reformist presidents and had basically kept them under his thumb, because in Iran, the president's not in charge. It's the supreme leader. It's the Ayatollah Khamenei. And you'd have to beg the question, why would Khamenei so delegitimize the basic fundamentals of this process just so he could keep a reformist out that he can basically fire at any time he wanted to anyway, according to the Constitution? It doesn't really make any sense. He has everything to lose, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. To give you a sense of how incredible this 63% number is, polling in Iran has shown that something like 20 to 25% of the electorate is pretty hardcore, conservative, in line with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's views. They want to destroy Israel, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's only about 25%, maybe 20%. So how did he get 63% of the vote? Yeah, question.
I've seen this in a couple places scattered around, but Ahmadinejad's election, the people he had watching it have come out and said that they thought it was rigged. I saw that one place. And Grand
Really?
Ayatollah Sanai, I don't know how to say his name, S-A-N-E-I, has come out
I
and
don't know how
said
to say it
that,
either.
yeah, he's come out and said that he thinks that the election was fraud, and then they put him under house arrest.
Yeah, the founder of the Revolutionary Guards, who no longer lives in Iran, he actually lives in the United States, he's a dissident now, he said he thinks this was rigged. Now, his word doesn't carry a lot of weight anymore in Iran because he exited stage left. But it's not clear to what extent Khamenei knew about all this. It seems much more likely that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad engineered this, just as he'd engineered the building up of these young angry man militias. Let's call them brown shirts, let's call them what they are. Brown shirts, stormtroopers, and seemed to have been preparing for the likelihood of doing this, because he had been polling well behind. He knew he was going to lose, and he didn't want to lose. And so this happened. Yeah.
The reason why the head guy wouldn't matter who wins, because you have to be you have to follow the policies of the revolution in order to get on the ballot. Like, he has to bless you to get on the ballot.
Yeah. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, controls everything, controls the army, controls the judiciary, controls the television network, controls the state-run media, can fire the president without cause for whatever reason at any time. He's really in charge of the country. The president is much more like a prime minister, or even like a chief of staff or something. They do have power, but it's limited. It's limited because they have a boss. And Khamenei it just makes no sense for him to orchestrate this, because it so delegitimizes their form of democracy, which is a kind of mollified democracy. Yes, we do vote for the parliament, the majlis. Yes, we do vote for the president, but we don't vote for the supreme leader or the Guardian Council, and they really run everything when it comes down to it. So it's a democracy, but it's a limited democracy. And if Khamenei did organize this, he just completely delegitimized 30 years of government, the entire system of Velayat-e Faqih, of a supreme clerical leader over a democratic structure. So he had no real reason to do this. Ahmadinejad had every reason in the world to do this, and the ability, and it seems like he did do it. So follow this story closely. BBC is probably the best source. They have the most people on the ground in the region. They actually focus on world events, whereas we're so myopic in this country. We like to still talking about Adam Lambert and not, a possible revolution in Iran. But that's America for you. So, any other questions before we get on to Chariots of the Gods? Yeah, John.
Has Saudi Arabia made any statement yet about it?
No. The EU came out and said that they recognized the results, but then Germany said, whoa, 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 whoa. The EU doesn't speak for us, which, of course, they're supposed to. That's why you all signed that treaty. The United States has no position right now. There have been certain members of Congress who have been calling for Obama to come out and support Mousavi, to support the uprising. But that would be the worst thing possible. Why do you think that would be the worst possible thing the United States could do?
If he takes a side and it's actually the wrong side for it, it could deteriorate relations within that country.
Well, it's not about the right or the wrong side, but then what does Mahmoud Ahmadinejad say? They're Western imperialists messing with our game. This was, of course, the charge against the Shah, that he was a puppet of the United States. So we can't say anything, or else we're going to just screw this whole thing over, and it's going to be, that would be the end of it. If the United States came out and said, we think Mousavi's the president, we support the protesters, that would be it. That would actually cause a lot of Iranians to turn against Mousavi, because they say, oh, look, he's a puppet. Oh, he's going to be just like the Shah. So silence is golden, and silence at this moment is far and away the best policy until things start to shake out. Yeah, Allison.
Did he just not realize that people would get this riled up about it?
Probably
if
not.
he did do it? He thought
Probably
it was
not.
fly.
Well, after all, the 2005 election was basically a sham too. Participation was way down. You essentially had no one under age 30 participating, and you could probably file this under seemed like a good idea at the time. File it under desperate times, call for desperate measures. I don't think Ahmadinejad anticipated this type of uprising that would result.
Because people doesn't seem like they would just let him walk back into his office and, without them just standing out there protesting.
Well, and the numbers they produce, 63-33, that's really ham-fisted. That's just stupid to say that. If he wanted to do it right, you give yourself 51%, Mousavi, 42, 40. 63-33 is an unprecedented landslide. Largest electoral landslide in American history happened in 1984. Ronald Reagan against Walter Mondale. Ronald Reagan won 57% of the vote. That's the biggest margin in American history. And this was 63-33.
Is there any comments from Israel about this, though? Have you heard anything?
They've really kind of stayed quiet as well. There was a poll out that half of Israelis want to bomb Iran now. But that's, that's kind of par for the
Wouldn't it
course.
be in their better interest to just back off and let the Arabs kill themselves, more or less?
Well, these aren't Arabs, these are Persians.
Well, I mean, same thing, though.
Well,
in their sense.
it's in nobody's interest if Iran collapses into revolution. It would be immensely destabilizing to the entire region, to Afghanistan to the east and to Iraq to the west, two places that we're relatively involved in these days. I don't know what's going to happen. This is uncharted water. This looks a lot like the Revolution of '79, with the exception that the ability of people to communicate now is so much greater. I mean, 1979, you obviously don't have YouTube, you don't have Twitter. Now, they tried to shut down certain things, but in a lot of the Twitter boards, there are conversations about how to get around the firewalls that have been set up by the government, how to get into proxy accounts through Dubai or something. These Iranian kids are not taking this lying down, and the next 24 to 48 hours will be very, very interesting indeed. Right. Okay. Let's talk about